Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is where we talk sports with you 7 nights a week. And all you have to do to be a part of this conversation is call the hotline, which is 412-575-2600. Bob Pompeani here in studio. Chris Mueller is in the studio up at 93.7 The Fan, the PM team, after a day of golf yesterday, which I'm sure you guys had a lot of fun for. It's About the Warrior Foundation, sponsored by Shenderovich and Fishman. And I know, I assume you avoided the rain. It came a little later, but you got everything in okay on that one? It was a big day for all the good work they do.
Yeah, they do great work. Obviously, I would say that first and foremost. They put on a terrific event. It was their first one, so it's only going to get better and better, and it was already very good. The horn sounded to basically herd people inside because the rain was coming, Bob. Literally, I don't think I had more than 90 seconds elapsed after I had holed the final putt that we needed for the day to finish our round. So the timing was good there. Joe Starkey was in my group, which means every 5 minutes, he ran through the entire cycle of human emotion relating to the game of golf and then just kept doing it over and over again. Kid you not.
I believe you. That's why I'm laughing.
So you're familiar with Valley Brook. Beautiful course, was in great shape. Greens were very challenging. Short par 3 on the blue course. He hits a horrible shot off the tee. I think I'm going to quit the game, Mulsey. PJ Kamenchik, of course, the boss at News Radio 1020 KDKA, chips in for a birdie for our group. Joe, completely back to life. He makes a par on the shamble format. He's back to life. We get up to the next tee box. There's 2 young ladies, one a college student, one a recent graduate working the event. He immediately shanks a ball like 25 yards to the right and barely hits it and says, I'm going to quit again. This is what I deal with. This is what happens when you golf with Joe Starkey. But we have a very limited time here, Bob, as you point out often to me, so I will not regale anybody else with our golf stories other than to say a very, very good time for a very, very good cause was had by all.
And Joe's finding out what it's like to be a golfer. It's just, it's never going to be perfected. Just enjoy it for what it is. Well, the Pirates enjoyed the second game of the first game, as opposed to the first game, I should say. They won 10-2. They lost the first one 8-zip. Jared Jones was going to have one of those outings, and it happened today, although he did not get a lot of support behind him. However, the Pirate offense went to sleep again, and I got to tell you something, Detroit has a pretty good left-hand pitcher on their side. Second game was all about Paul Skenes, 9 more strikeouts. He's off to a terrific start.
Yeah, I thought Skenes kind of delivered something symbolic in that second game. Skubal was awesome for Detroit in the first game, although the Pirates with that 7-8-9 in their lineup could have made, I think, Mount Lebanon or North Alleghany's pitchers tonight. Congrats to NA for winning a 1-0 decision on a no-hitter, by the way, for the baseball crown. With the only run being scored, a Jose Canseco home run off the glove over the fence. Feel terrible for the left fielder at Lebo, but that's an all-time story to tell 30 years later. I thought, Skubal was great. He silenced the Pirates. And then symbolically, Bob, what you want a guy like Paul Skenes to do, he's going to be your ace, or he's supposed to be your ace. You drafted him to be the horse at the top of the rotation. You've got to go out there and deliver a big-time performance. And I know the offense made it look easy given what they put up in the second game, but the way he really took apart that Tigers lineup for the most part, I thought was very impressive. Probably should have only given up 1 run in that game, just symbolically and tangibly.
Yep.
I thought that was a great outing by Skenes.
It really was, and they needed it, certainly, because of what happened in that first game, although Skubal is really good. And, boy, that guy was first strike almost every hitter he faced today. One other note I want to throw out for baseball before we go to the break and open up the phone lines at 412-575-2600. Corey Seager has done it. He hit his 8th home run in 8 straight games, which is pretty impressive, and it ties people like Don Mattingly, Ken Griffey Jr., as well as a former Pirate, and the name is escaping me, Dale Long.
Jason Bay?
Yeah,
Jason Bay flirted with it several years ago. He had like 6 or 7 straight games with the home run.
But 8 in a row is pretty impressive. He could win it. He can set that record tomorrow. And that dude had a lot to do with Texas winning a championship last year, and he has just been terrific. We got to go to a break on that note. We have a lot of people on the lines already, I see. Thank you for calling early. We'll get to those and more as we continue here. We're live, KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Our GMC Sierra tweet of the night comes from Jeff Passan, who covers baseball very nicely for ESPN. 4 starts into his time with the Pirates. Here are the Skenes numbers: 22 innings, 15 hits, 2 home runs, 5 walks, 30 strikeouts, 2.45 ERA. And Jeff says it may be just the beginning of Skenes' career already, though he's established himself as one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, which means there are a lot of people who want to talk about it, Chris, so let's get right to it. Jim in Peters Township is first tonight. What's up, Jim? Hello, Jim. Oh, come on, Jim, you're the first
He's so
caller.
excited he can't speak. He can't speak, Bob. He's just overcome with excitement and emotion at what he saw from Paul Skenes today.
Yeah, I see him there. Jim, can you hear us? All right, never mind, Jim. So much for that big beginning. Let's go out to Tom in Shaler, see if Tom's any better. Hey, Tom.
Hey, what's up, again?
Go right ahead.
Hello, Tom.
Yes. Until Pirates management change their ways, we will not have a winning ball team in Pittsburgh.
Well, that's an old refrain we hear a lot of, and I get it.
What happened? Hold on. What happened from 2013 to 2015? Did they fundamentally change their ways? I'm serious. Like,
no, what they did was they went out and actually made some pretty good signings, and they brought in some people who were actually good at what they did. And they ran some young kids, and I think they have the same kind of thing going on here right now. They have some younger talent, which I like. It's a matter of just adding to it. And I thought they should have in this offseason more so than what they did.
They should have, and like, you want to say I would like to see them change their ways and be more aggressive and spend more on free agents. I'll agree with you, but this idea that they have to fundamentally change because they'll never win. They just won a decade ago for 3 straight years. Only one team in baseball won more games in that span. Like, it can be done this way. I get the frustration, but I tire of that particular type of refrain from a fan or any fan because I just don't think it's accurate, Bob, because we have actual wins and losses to measure it.
Yeah, but I understand where it's coming from because it's not been a consistent, 3 years out of how many? That's what pretty much we're talking about. So I get it. Let's go back and see if Jim has his phone fixed now because he's back with us. Jim and Peters, go ahead.
Yeah, I got cut off. How I looked at Skenes, I looked at it like he did it with surgical precision. I used to call on trauma and burn surgeons for 27 years. Sometimes went into surgery with him as a product advisor in burns, and he was like a surgeon. Literally, he was. He just looked at it like very analytical, and I'm going to take these guys out.
For one of 21 years old, I mean, the guy knows how to change speeds. He does it with an assortment of pitches and sometimes assortment of ways he goes about it. It's pretty amazing how he gets left-hand pitchers to swing at that splinker thing he has, and then all of a sudden comes 101 miles an hour. But, man, I agree with that. Chris, 21, you normally don't see a guy do that at age 21. That normally comes later after the heat wears off a little bit.
Yeah, he's very advanced with his mental approach. I think I've heard people talk about him the way they used to talk about Maddox with the cerebral nature of what he does, and obviously the arm is just incredible. He's 22, by the way, now.
That's right. Happy birthday, Paul Skenes. He delivered a birthday gift to everyone.
Happy birthday to Paul Skenes. Yes, a little birthday gift for himself, not so much the Tigers. I mean, I still think Jared Jones, by the way, can be almost as electrifying and some days more electrifying than Skenes, but you do see the difference between a guy in Skenes that appears to have like command of about 5 different pitches and full confidence in throwing them, and a body type that I think is going to allow him start to start, Bob, to maintain velocity more than Jones will. I think Jones is going to have days like today where he's sitting 94, 95, maybe 96. And it doesn't have as much explosion on that fastball to set everything up. But that's fine. There's not very many Paul Skeneses around, and if Jared Jones is the guy we've seen much of the year, 4 out of every 5 starts, the Pirates really have something there.
They really do, and that makes Keller even better, I think. And, Falter can just be consistent. He doesn't have to be dynamic, but consistently good, getting, 6 innings of work. That's pretty good, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sean Kramer has a tweet for us. Chris, he says, is it time for the Pirates to bring up Henry Davis? I thought he was going to get the recall anyway. After the injury that we saw to Joey Bart, went on a 10-day injured list. I thought Davis, given the way he has swung the bat, that he would be the recall, but he wasn't. Instead, it was Koch.
So I can only surmise a couple of things. Koch has caught Skenes, obviously, in the minor leagues, so there's a familiarity factor there. And then I have to guess, Bob, that the Pirates really think that Henry Davis mentally was beaten up by that start this year and just how bad he looked. And it's almost like one of those things where they seem like they'd rather have him cool off at AAA again and almost get it back before they bring him back up. I'm not sure I agree with that, but their approach to this seems to suggest that they think this was a pretty deep hole he had dug himself mentally and physically, and he needed to get out of it.
I'll tell you, a guy who's really turned his game around is Andrew McCutchen. He's swinging the bat very well. At first, I thought having him DH in the one spot was not exactly the right position, but boy, he's been out there every single time. And after an 0-for-4 first game, he turned it up. And the fact that he turned on that 96, I believe it was, pitch high in the zone the way he did, and his running to beat out a Connor Joe ground ball at the plate was pretty 8 home runs. If I'm not mistaken, is that the most on the team? I can't remember how many Reynolds has. But if it is, that says something for him.
I'll admit to being wrong about this. I don't think I said it too loudly, maybe because you don't want to say this about a guy like McCutchen because he might make you look stupid. But I thought it seemed early in the year, Bob, I don't know if you feel similarly, that they were just trying to get him that 300th home run, and then they might have stapled him to the bench for a while. The bat looked slow. Things just really looked out of sorts. But he's gotten his timing back. He's never lost his mastery of the strike zone. And in recent weeks, before he really started picking it up, he was hitting the ball hard and getting bad luck. So there were some good signs building. This is a very pleasant surprise, I'll say it that way, for their offense that he's starting to hit like this, and particularly at the top of the order.
Today he had a home run, a 3-run home run. He also had a run-producing hit, a double, a single, and a walk. And you're right, that strike zone awareness is pretty good. Tony in the Hill District is our next caller. Welcome to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, Tony.
Hello, Bob. How are you? I would like to see what kind of wide receiver talent that the Steelers will have this year. So I hope they don't make it just about Pickens. And somebody please tell me why the Steelers do not utilize their tight ends like they should.
Well, first of all, I think this is a year for Pat Freiermuth. If you're looking for someone who may be capable of getting a lot more targets because of what they do to George Pickens, it might be him more than any of the receivers they have. But, bottom line is I still think they need help. I agree with him, Chris. If you're going to look at Roman Wilson as your number 2, I don't know. That's putting a lot of pressure on the kid. He may be okay to contribute, but it's not as easy as it may seem, like some elite receivers can make it. He has a role on this team to play, but I still think they need somebody else to complement Pickens. And I don't know how they necessarily go about getting it this late juncture.
Unless they swing some sort of insane blockbuster with San Francisco, the Niners kind of interestingly locking up Juwan Jennings. I don't know if you saw that,
yes.
Which just kind of makes you wonder about the fate of Ayuk and Samuel, or either or really guy there. Unless they swing some sort of blockbuster deal for a guy like Ayuk, Juju Smith-Schuster's not the answer if he gets cut and then the Steelers want to bring him in. I don't think that scares opposing defenses. The bottom line is they need somebody who lines up, whether it's slot or otherwise, who's perceived as a big enough threat that it's going to keep George Pickens from getting doubled every play. Otherwise, it's going to have a cascading effect, negative effect on this offense. But they have left themselves open on that flank, Bob, and I'm going to be let me put it this way, I'm a little skeptical and very interested to see how they decide to try and fill that void.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point you brought up about Juwan Jennings. I saw that and made me wonder now about what those other guys may be dealing with here. I haven't heard anything definitive. We heard a lot about Ayuk a few weeks ago, but that's simmered down. So we'll see, and something to keep your eye on. Let's go to Chuck in Uniontown before we go to a break. Hey, Chuck, always good to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks, fellas. I'd like to know, do you think that Jarrett Jones will have to expand his pitching repertoire to be able to sustain himself long-term as a really good pitcher?
Well, I think he has to have control of more than just 1 or 2 pitches, yes. And I think it helps having a guy like Skenes around, Chris. This is a guy who can help him. They're basically the same age. They have a lot in common from what I understand, so I think that can't hurt.
Jones is a good athlete. He's obviously not a very big guy. I think 6'1", 190 is probably generous on both counts from what I've been hearing about him. I haven't stood next to him to know. But he's not a big guy. Skenes is a big guy, so you figure he'll keep the velocity. Jones has to learn how to locate that curveball, both as a strikeout pitch and just kind of a sneaky get-over pitch, and then just work on the changeup. You're a 4-pitch pitcher. You don't have to throw 96, 97, 98, 99 with that 4-seam fastball. You can do a Verlander type of thing. You can locate it early at 93, 94, and then ramp it up. But I would agree with Chuck. I think he needs to develop a third and possibly a fourth pitch besides fastball slider to really remain elite or up near the elite in baseball.
As we go to break, an update on the Oilers and Stars. The other night it was Edmonton that jumped out to a 2-0 lead only to lose. Tonight it was Dallas that went up 2-0, and all of a sudden the Oilers have stormed back. So they're looking to tie that series. The other one's already tied, so we could have best of sevens. Who knows? Not like the NBA. Although who knows what's going to happen with Minnesota. We'll talk maybe about that when we come back. We're due for a break. 412-575-2600. Ireland Contracting, Nightly Sports Call, KDK Plus and 93.7 The Fan.